A civil servant by profession and a writer at heart, he believes that a certain amount of passion is necessary in whatever he does. This is evident in the first of his books, Move On Bunny. I would now read a passage from the book, giving you a glimpse of his style of writing. Bunny collected his bag and was planning to join the longish queue of prepaid taxi seekers when he saw a placard sporting the mystifying name B. Kapoor. The bearer was the smiling sort, and as Bunny walked a step towards him in wonderment, the man approached him hurriedly. "Mr. Kapoor," the man asked him, quite unsurprisingly for one carrying that particular placard. Bunny nodded and was about to inform the man that he had not been expecting anyone to pick him up when his bag was pulled away from his hand with great force. The man was already running towards the exit with it, and Bunny had no option but to follow suit. His hurried shout of "Wait!" was inaudible to his receiver in the din, and even before Bunny could catch up, the man had a swanky car at the ready. "Get in, sir, there's very little time." Bunny was almost sure that it was not him that the man had come to pick up. But then his name was indeed B. Kapoor, and he had not been asked for any credentials, so he hopped in. He was not complaining. "Maybe one of my admirers from Kolkata organized the vehicle," he thought to himself and chuckled softly. The man drove off and was on the phone for almost 40 minutes, the duration of the journey. Bunny and he had no exchange of words, apart from one quick sentence from the other. "We are almost there." What had I landed myself into? Bunny wondered for the first time, quite sure now that it was all a mistake. The car entered a driveway and pulled up with a screech at the porch of a largish building, where the door was opened by a comely sari-clad woman who seemed more than a little tense. "Mr. Kapoor," she said quite breathlessly, "you're just in time." With those few words, she turned and sprinted down the corridor. Bunny wondered how tough it must be to run in a sari and rushed after her to explain that she had the wrong Kapoor. He caught up with her at a doorway and opened his mouth to speak, but she abruptly handed him some papers and walked inside. Bunny followed as he glanced at the papers. They were about some seminar on rapid social changes in modern society. When he looked up, he found himself standing behind a podium on a stage facing an audience of about 200 people. "Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Kapoor himself," the woman announced in a melodious voice before she withdrew with an engaging smile. Faced with a major crisis, Bunny was paralyzed, rooted to the ground and scared as hell. He shook himself violently to gather his wits, thereby toppling the mic over with a clang. A man emerged from nowhere, saluted him and straightened the object. Bunny looked at the crowd. As of now, no one was laughing at him or even smiling. They were all looking at him in a polite sort of way and waiting patiently for him to begin. His wits were in danger of ungathering themselves again, so he repeated the shake yourself routine, this time without disturbing the mic. "I must tell these people that I am not who they think I am, or I've had it," he said to himself. He was sure that the real B. Kapoor was at that moment standing in the queue for prepaid taxis at the airport. He turned around to see the charming woman standing behind him with an eyebrow half raised. Bunny realized that the moment was not far when said eyebrow attained the lofty position of being fully raised. He turned again towards the audience just in time to see that certain eyebrows in the first row had commenced their upward journey too. Bunny knew he had just a few seconds before people would catch on and start throwing tomatoes at him. The fact that none of them appeared to have tomatoes in their pockets did not occur to him at that harrowing moment. So he made his decision and began his speech. I would now request the author, Mr. Vivek Atre, to deliver his speech.
Thank you. Professor B. N. Goswami, Mr. Sunil Joshi, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this book launch. I hope I'm audible at the very end. Okay, good. I welcome you all, each one of you. It's good to have you here. Each one of you has a special warmth towards me, which I return. It's a special day for me because it's my debut as an author. Therefore, by joining me here on this special occasion, you've added to the special nature of this evening. My special thanks, of course, to Professor Goswami and Ms. Joshi for being here. This hall is the very hall where, in 1989, another book release took place. 22 years ago. Those who are old-timers would recall that this portion of the UT guest house was indeed as it is, and that is the new portion. So this very hall was the only hall where book releases or any releases could take place. And my father, Mr. J.P. Atre, authored a book which was released in this very hall in 1989. His book was called Crime Against Women, based on his career, his experiences in the police. It was released by Justice Sarkari, at that time the chairman of the Center State Relations Committee. So it's a special occasion for me that we're releasing this book here. And also it could accommodate about 350 people, which also made it a suitable venue. Mobiles are allowed today. Even loud mobiles are allowed. So it's all right. Because we're talking about humorous appreciation. There's a quote in my book from the autobiography of a yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, which credits Mahatma Gandhi, in that chapter on Mahatma Gandhi, with humorous appreciation of the quaint human spectacle. Mahatma Gandhi had that. So did Paramahansa Yogananda. That's why he could see it. Some of us have it in greater degree and some of us in lesser degree. All of us do. But if we could appreciate the quaint human spectacle a little more than we often do, our lives would be better lived, more qualitative, higher level lives. Because what is happening in this world is often taken very seriously. We take everything too seriously. A book launch is a very serious affair. An exam is an even more serious affair. An interview for a job, critical, do or die, life and death. A marriage proposal, ladke wale aa rahe hain. Terrible. There could be even worse things in life. But we take things generally too seriously. The problem of today would not be the problem of tomorrow. There may be some which last a little longer, but generally we fret over things which are not really worthy of being fretted over. So therefore, if we appreciate things in a certain different way, if we take a humorous look at things, then life becomes a little better. That's what I found. So this humorous appreciation started for me when I was in the government. Because till then, when you start a career, you don't really appreciate things too much. Because you're struggling to get a job, or you're studying, or your exam is there, your teachers after you, or your parents after you to study, or why did you do this, and why did you go on the motorcycle, or whatever it was. So my dad never allowed me to go on a motorbike. The thing is that when I started meeting the common man as an SDM in Kalka, I was SDM Kalka. There I met the common man for the first time. Because till then I was living a very sheltered, closeted, privileged kind of existence. Although my dad was strict, much more strict than my friends from other similar families. And I would complain to my mom, why am I not allowed this or that when they're allowed, you know. I wasn't that spoiled, I was controlled. But still, I was sheltered. And when I met the common man for the first time, it was as SDM Kalka. And this common man turned out to be a remarkable person. Who's the common man? Are we common people? We are actually. Everyone's a common man. Some may be rich, some may be poor, some may be privileged, others underprivileged. They're all common. So I met some underprivileged common people over there. Common men who had uncommon stories. Everyone has a story. Even the clerk who's sitting every day and clearing files, or someone very boring, someone who changes light bulbs, someone who sits at a window and sells tickets. Everyone has a story and interesting aspect to his life. If you look deeper, if you search deeper, so what happens is that somebody might sing, maybe anywhere. There might be someone who does the duties of a priest in the morning before coming to office. I met a man who works in my office. What does he do at 6 in the morning? He goes and does havans. So there were so many things to people. And I met a man in Kalka when I was SDM who really took the steam out of me. Till then, when I joined, I was like SDM Saab. Wherever you go, salute. Then the common man was also the same, you'd say Janab, hold in hand, And this guy, he was just the opposite. So we went to a place called Dakrog. Those who've been in Kalka, it's the highest village of Haryana, just below Timber Trail. So how do you go to Dakrog? You go by the trolley to Timber Trail Heights and you walk down to Dakrog. Because there was no road going to Dakrog. Now there is. But in 1995 or 94 when I was SDM in Kalka, there was no road. So these people, they would trek to Dakrog every day. And one day the SDM Saab decided to trek. So I was trekking to Dakrog, which is a 2.5-hour trek. And this common man in a kurta pajama and rubber slippers was running at the speed of just a little less than Usain Bolt. And we, in our very, sports shoes and gear, we were like crawling around. Because the terrain was tough. It was a hilly area and there was a sheer fall on the right. And I am not a very good walker in the hills. Give me a plain surface and I can play cricket or tennis or anything. But in the hills I feel a little shaky and nervous. So I'm like inching along and this guy's running. So he realized that there's not much to this SDM. He wasn't very impressed. So he's like, आपकी सरकार ऐसी है, आपका दफ्तर पता नहीं कुछ नहीं होता, मेरा काम नहीं हुआ है, 28 साल हो गए मुझे or something, 28 years. It's been 28 years since I have a particular thing, some work with the SDM office and it's not being done. And this, that. So I had to go down on all fours at one point. I had to literally go down on hands and knees to climb, to walk. And this guy is, skipping along. And there are 15 or 20 people in the middle. He's at the very beginning of the queue and I'm somewhere in the middle. He turns around and sees me and says, very, very lovely, look at the SDM. SDM Saab ko dekho. SDM Saab ko dekho, sir. And I'm like, embarrassed. My hands are dirty, crawling. So I was very, very upset that this common man, and what's he doing to me? So I invited him to my office. And that job, which was not done for 28 years, I made it my business to do it. Because I had to win him over. How can anyone think so little of me? So this common man was not won over by my trekking, but only because I managed to get his work done. But he left an imprint in my mind. This common man left an indelible mark somewhere, and I couldn't forget it. So I wrote a middle somewhere 5 years down the line, 5 or 6 years after that. And that middle was about that man. It was called On Hands and Knees in the Tribune. They edited the heading a little bit, which they do. But it was basically called On Hands and Knees. So when I wrote that middle, I wrote about the common man and me and my experiences. I realized that I can write humorously about these common men, and therefore I should write a little more. And of course I'll come later to the fact that Nina, my wife, was the one who got me to write. Because she found some college time article of mine when she was also in the same college, and she was very impressed. That's why she was impressed with me, actually. There were some other reasons too, but we won't go into that. So basically, she was impressed with my writing, and after reading my college time writing, we got married, so there was no more need to write. So she was already landed me as a husband and me. So what I did was that I took a break from writing for 12 years, which was a sorry thing to do, now I think, because I could have written many more books. But I took a break and suddenly I found that she's been after me and I can write these. So I started writing more and more middles out of my experiences. And I realized that one can write a middle out of anything. One can write a middle out of this book launch, out of people who are sitting here. Some of you are restless, some of you are quite placid and calm. Some are looking sideways at pretty ladies, some are looking somewhere else. So it happens everywhere. You go to a railway station, and you find the same thing. If your train is late, you can either, aapka mobile allowed hai? Allowed. You can either fret and fume that your train is late and you're missing a meeting or missing whatever. Or you can just sit there at the waiting room and look around at people, and there are different kinds of people there. So I'm sitting at a railway station and looking around at people, and there's an argument between a young man and the mother of a child over the fact that the child dropped juice on top of his laptop at the railway station waiting room. These things happen everywhere, but we need to open our eyes to them. And if we are able to write a little bit, we put them down on paper. All of us can write. Some of us can write a little bit, some can write well. But everyone should write something or the other, I think. So I got into writing. And after writing middles, I realized that the Times of India found 8 or 9 of mine good enough to publish in the national edition. The Tribune found about 30 of them good enough. So I said, if I can write middles which are 500 words, maybe I can write a book which is about 40,000 words or 60,000 words, depends on the length of your book. Move On Bunny is about 42,000 words. When do you start thinking of a book in terms of words? When you start thinking of becoming a writer. No one thinks like that. It's 160 pages, right? 200 pages. When you become a writer or want to become a writer, you go to the website of Nicholas Sparks. Nicholas Sparks. So he writes these phenomenal books which young ladies and young men all over the world love. You go to that website and you see that he writes 500 words a day. And 500 words a day, edited, perfect, ready. Which means it will take him about 6 to 8 months to write a book, which is fine. So it took me about 6 months to write this book. And Move On Bunny. Why did I write it and how did I write it? Move On Bunny is the tale of a young man called Bunny Kapoor, who could be anyone. There are many Bunny Kapoors out there. I can't see too many in this hall, but there are many out there. So these Bunny Kapoors are those who are trying to meet challenges of life, trying to get on top of the game. They weren't very good in school, but they're doing very well in their career. And once they meet a challenge, once they reach the top, they're not satisfied. So they want to move on. They want to move on to something else. And then move on to something further. So when they're on top of the game, they leave that and move on to something else. Bunny Kapoor is like that. But the problem with him is that it's not smooth sailing. But it never is. Smooth sailing is not part of life. It never happens. So you have to take the rough with the smooth. So Bunny Kapoor takes the rough with the smooth and the very rough with the not so smooth. He lands into situations which are tricky. One of them is read out in the book, where he lands up giving a speech before 300 people when he's not the real person. He's not the B. Kapoor. Now imagine if I'm the author and someone else lands up here and he has to give this speech. I don't think anyone could have given this particular speech. That's the kind of situation he lands in. It's a humorous tale of a young guy who basically is a ladies' man too. Now why he's a ladies' man, how he's a ladies' man, I don't know. But he attracts female attention. And what happens is that once he's supposed to open bank accounts, he's a bank sales manager. That's what they're supposed to do, open bank accounts. They call you up, they pester you, they email you, they accost you in the street, open an account. What happens is that this man is only able to open female accounts. And everyone pulls his leg because he's become the champion of female accounts and he's not able to open a single male account. So there's a PM called Ramanathan in a school in Chennai where he moves from Delhi. Ramanathan is his agent. He pays him 100 rupees for every account he opens. But he tells Ramanathan to open his own account, he won't do it. He opens the accounts of all the female teachers in that school. But that one male account eludes him. He becomes the champion of champions of the bank with that male accountant. This kind of experience, he experiences this kind of episodes all over the book. Now this Move On Bunny is basically a paperback published by Prakash Books. It is not to be taken seriously. It is to be read on a flight or on a train or in the toilet at times. Or when you're waiting to bat, when you're waiting for your batting, you can read a book. So it can be read anywhere. It's not heavy. It's not heavy reading. Even if your daughter's running around or someone or your wife is shouting at you or the TV is blaring, probably read it. Whatever. So therefore, I'm very happy to see all of you here, and I'm not done with my speaking for the evening because I'll come back to say a few thank yous. But I'm done for now. And I'm just trying to remember an Urdu couplet, which, because I know Professor Goswami is here, I'm going to try to impress him. It's going to be tough before I sit down, so I'm just trying to remember that while I look at you. And it is, yes, the philosophy towards life should be, दुनिया में रहता हूँ, दुनिया का तलबगार नहीं हूँ, बाजार से गुजरा हूँ, खरीदार नहीं हूँ. So thank you very much.